Analysis of the Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Central theme. The central theme of the Raven is loss and grief, as well as the human struggle against despair and madness. Through the figure of the Raven, Edgar explores the idea of the dead and the impossibility of escaping emotional pain. The work reflects the angst of the protagonist, who is trapped in a circle of memories and longing for his beloved Lenore, symbolizing irreparable loss and obsession with what can no longer be removed. Protagonist. The protagonist of The Raven is an anonymous narrator who represents a man in mourning bungled into sadness and melancholy over the death of his beloved Lenore. Throughout the poem, his emotional state deteriorates and he interacts with the crow, which becomes a symbol of his despair. The crow, although a bird, acts as an antagonist in the story, representing the inevitability of death and the permanence of pain. Conflicts. The main conflict in The Raven is internal, as the protagonist struggles with his pain and his desire to forget Lenore. As the Raven repeats the word "never again," the narrator is faced with the reality that he will never be able to see his beloved again, which intensifies his sufferings. This conflict manifests itself in the tension between the hope of finding solace and the acceptance of loss, which leads the protagonist into an spiral of despair and madness. Poetic structure. The Raven is written in the form of a narrative poem, composed of 8 stanzas of 6 verses each. The meter is predominantly octosyllabic, which gives it a musical and melancholic rhythm. Poe used literal rhyme as effective repetition, especially with the word "nevermore," to emphasize the protagonist's hopelessness. The structure of the poem contributes to its dark and oppressive atmosphere, creating a sense of inevitability and fatalism. Composition. The composition of The Raven is rich in symbolism and literary devices. Poe used vivid images and evocative language to create an atmosphere of mystery and terror. The crow, as a symbol of death and memory, becomes the central excess of the work. Furthermore, the use of alliteration and assonance reinforces the musicality of the poem, while the repetition of phrases and the construction of rhetorical questions intensify the narrator's anguish. The work culminates in an emotional climax, where the protagonist surrenders to the reality of his pain, leaving the reader with a feeling of restlessness and reflection on the nature of grief and loss. In short, The Raven is a masterpiece by Edgar Allan Poe that addresses universal themes of love, loss, and despair through carefully crafted poetic structure and profound symbolism. The interaction between the protagonist and the Raven creates an emotional conflict that resonates with the human experience of grief, cementing this poem as one of the most significant works of American literature.